Out on circuit is about to be the Macau Formula 4 race, the FIA F4 World Cup free practice 2. Looking at the cars down in the assembly area, and it's time to say a very good morning to David Addison. David, slight echoes of last year when we found out there was going to be a wet track this morning.
Yeah, but it's not as wet, thank heavens. It was spitting with rain a bit last night as I diagonally came back from a bar, and it rained a lot more heavily, as you've been suggesting, during the course of the night. But although it's been declared a wet track, it is damp patches rather than full-on puddles, so I don't think it's going to be a major drama this. And equally, we're looking at cars on slick tyres, so a couple of laps to get some warmth in and we should be good. Yesterday it was the British driver Keane Nakamura who was the fastest in the first of the two free practice sessions, 0.8 of a second quicker than Emanuele Olivieri, and then Gino Trapper was third. Keane Nakamura has won the Italian Championship this year. Emanuele Oliveira has won the Middle East, and Gino Trapper has won the Central European Zone. So you've got three champions, all at the top of the times from yesterday. And there are other drivers that we've not yet seen the best of, in as much as Finn McLaughlin, the British Formula 4 champion, didn't do a lap, didn't do half a lap, didn't do a corner because the car ground to a halt just as it came out of the pit lane. A rather tight-lipped team will only say a mechanical issue, which is a bit of a waffle bomb, really. So we'll try and get to the bottom of it. But
I'm not sure we will.
No, but it is going to be fascinating now to see what Finn McLaughlin can do. On the one hand, we know he's good, but he's not been here before. One or two of the drivers have across the weekend. And certainly in this, you've got Thiago Rodriguez, who has been here and done the F4 races in the past. But as you look at Thomas Behrman, Ollie Behrman's younger brother, Finn McLaughlin is going to be on the back foot, having lost all that running yesterday. So this is really going to be fascinating to see just how good he is. This is R.I. Bansal, who's the GB4 champion this year, which is a championship that runs in the UK for older generation F4 cars. And another driver to keep an eye on there, looking down, is Itsuki Sato, and he is was the Japanese championship leader mid-season, but ultimately that title won by Takaya Suzuki.
He was runner-up, wasn't he, at the end of the year? Do you know, I put an awful lot of stock in what a driver's demeanour is, the body language ahead of a session. Finn McLaughlin looked pretty cool this morning when we passed him down in the assembly area. Not panicked, didn't look anxious. I think that's absolutely the right way to go into day two.
I think you're right, and he is an impressive young driver. You know, he didn't dominate the British Championship, but he took, 5 wins, and was a class act, and he was very competitive in the non-championship races that supported the British Grand Prix. It's not quite as blustery as yesterday. It's pretty humid. It is dry, and I think the circuit with this slight breeze is going to dry pretty quickly. The circuit 6.1 kilometres long as you look from Finn McLaughlin's car that's at the back of the pre-grid, because he didn't get it. The cars line up in the order of the previous session, so without a time he's going to be at the back. These cars are all the same, and to make the point, it differentiates from the Formula Regional event because they are all being run by one central team. They're all the same chassis, all the same engine, and run by one team rather than multiple teams operating the cars. Green light in the assembly area, and FP2 is underway for the FIA Formula 4 World Cup. The cars making their way out in the order of yesterday's times, and that means Keane Nakamura the fastest, will go first. He was 0.8 quicker than Emanuele Olivieri yesterday. Gino Trapper was third, Simon Zhang was fourth, Seb Weldon was fifth, and Ryan Caretti sixth. Finn McLaughlin didn't get a lap in at all, didn't get a corner in, so he's at the rear of the queue, and we'll see how he fares now. Miguel M21 F4 chassis, Alpine 1300 turbo 4-cylinder engine, 162 horsepower generated, and they all venture out onto a 6-kilometre long circuit. David Addison and Alan Hyde trackside. First
opportunity to find out just where these damp patches are, and if there are any puddles, to find out exactly where the puddles are going to be around the 6-kilometre circuit here, the gear circuit here at Macau. These iconic camera views that we have just going into Lisboa, one of the iconic overtaking positions, and that camera looking down gives us, over the course of 4 days every year, so much action. And this is the opportunity to ride on board now and really seek out where these damper patches are, and you can see them. You can see there are notably some darker patches up on the twisty section of the circuit as they just do this exploratory outlap. And of course the other knock-on effect of Finn McLaughlin yesterday not being able to complete a lap during FP1 is that he starts right at the back, so he's got all the other traffic in front of him, and you would imagine that he would want to pull really quite a long way behind the train of cars that are in front of him to do some meaningful laps on his own, if you like.
They've got qualifying at 1:30 this afternoon. That's when he needs to be a hero with the time. So really, he first of all needs to do a lap. He has not yet got to any of these corners in a race car. If he's walked around the circuit, that will be as much. It's not the kind of easy place to go and do a track walk either, because it's a public road circuit, as you know, and the roads are open all day on the Wednesday, closed Thursday morning for track activity. So it's not an easy place to even do a track walk, dodging the traffic as best you can.
This is going to help dry the track, actually. The sunshine has just come out.
But yeah, McLaughlin right now needs mileage. The heroics of a time can come later on in the day. This is Finn McLaughlin. We're riding on board as he threads his way now then out of the Teddy Yip corner, the Solitude S's, and I think he's been pretty clever about this. Alan said he's gone out last, which is absolutely true, but he's also let the traffic go, so he's got the road to himself. And right now, not only does he need to have a think about what the corners are like, but also just assess where the damp patches might be, because heroics and putting it in the wall now would just destroy the weekend. Well,
so far so good. Today has been a much better day for Finn McLaughlin. He's got an awful lot further around the lap, hasn't he? And this is good news. You can't see a car in front, so he has got himself some breathing space. The first of the cars now that left the assembly area make their way across the line and go on to the first of the flying laps. Worth pointing out as well that yesterday it was Keen Nakamura-Berta who was the quickest car number 51, the Italian F4 champion. And we made the point yesterday, didn't we, during qualifying, that this is what Macau for so many years has been all about with the single-seater activities that we have over the weekend. Drivers coming from championships, identical championships if you like, the same kind of cars from around the world, and all competing to be top of the form at the end of this weekend.
Yeah, to have that kind of shootout is pretty rare these days, and F4, just to make the point, has operated at the FIA Motorsport Games over the previous editions, and one of the previous drivers within that was a certain Kimi Antonelli, for example. So there's kind of been an unofficial shootout, but to have an FIA stamp on it and the World Cup tag is quite something. Now, Finn McLaughlin into the pit lane, so he's had an exploratory lap. I'm hoping this is purely so he can bring back some data to the team rather than any kind of issue. But Finn McLaughlin into the pit road, and everybody else, of course, stays out on track and now are on to a flying lap, at the end of which times will come.
They will, and we've got 40 minutes of free practice before, so these are one of the few disciplines today that go out onto the circuit twice today. They only went out for free practice one yesterday morning, so they only got one occasion on track yesterday. But today we have free practice. This is 40 minutes, and then qualifying this afternoon at 1:30 local time for 40 minutes this afternoon. So busy day for them, for the drivers and the teams. And one thing it does mean, don't mess up the car this morning.
Yeah, quite.
Because there is a precious little time between free practice conclusion and the start of qualifying this afternoon at 1:30. So keep it all in one piece, please.
2 minutes 27 was the benchmark time yesterday, so we'll keep an eye to see just how much these damp parts of the circuit are going to affect the qualifying times around here. The fastest part of the circuit on the way through Mandarin at 230 kilometres an hour. The slowest is the Melco hairpin, not surprisingly, at 35 kilometres an hour down to first gear. As over the timing line then goes Keen Nakamura-Berta, and a 2 minutes 35 is the opening salvo from Emanuele Oliveri, and then Gino Trappers, Hammond Zhang. They come through in the order they left the pit lane in, which is the order they put the times in yesterday, the classification. So Jules Roussel, in fact, now breaks that pattern and puts himself at the top. He was the runner-up in the French F4 Championship, which is a similar operation to this, in as much as all the cars there are centrally run, and there are people from the FFSA here helping min times to look after a single supplier style event. So Jules Roussel, 2:32.5, and then Thiago Rodriguez, who is an experienced F4 racer around here because he's done the F4 race at the 70th anniversary meeting a couple of years ago, 2:31.8 being the time. So Jules Roussel second fastest, Itsuki Sato now third fastest at the end of that first lap, and then Kei Nakamura, Berta down to fourth in the times.
I think anyone that's competed in a single-seater in the UK is at an advantage, because the way the circuit is, it's just like all the circuits in the UK. First thing in the morning, we have overnight moisture, and it takes a little while to dry out over the course of the morning, doesn't it?
That's a fair point, yeah.
There are just these little darker patches around the track, but I haven't seen any puddles anywhere. Certainly away from the circuit, when we were walking in this morning, there were some quite deep puddles, which kind of was the legacy that we did have quite a bit of overnight rain.
Yes, there was certainly quite a bit of dampness around at 6:15 when one was out running. Not dodging puddles, but it was, yeah, you could tell it rained a lot in the night.
He didn't do the whole circuit
Not this morning, no. Another driver we're going to have to keep an eye on, and at the moment he's in the pit lane, is Alexandre Munoz. Why do we need to keep an eye on him? Well, he had quite a big accident yesterday, and Munoz is another champion coming out of this season. He's the French champion, but he got it all wrong coming out of Fisherman's Bend yesterday in FP1, and totally wrecked the left-hand side of the car, took the rear wheel and the front wheel on the left-hand side off and did a lot of damage and caused a red flag. So Munoz needs mileage, but that car actually is not only still sitting in the pit lane, but still being worked upon. I can just see it out of the window.
Nakamura Berta has just gone through for a second flying lap of this free practice session and improved to 2:28.352, but then that's only good enough for third place now, because Jules Russell in car number 7 has gone to the top of the times. Looked like it was coming, didn't it? 2:27.955 for car number 7.
And Finn McLaughlin, I think, is still in the pit lane as well. So it makes you think that there's still something not quite right with that, because that's a long stop. It's more than just saying, let's tweak the front wing or something, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. And I wondered when he came into the pit lane, are they trying to catch up? Are they doing a programme today that sort of condenses 2 sessions into one? But the amount of time he's been in, bear in mind that we're now sort of almost 10 minutes into the session, his only session of free practice, kind of makes you think, is there still a problem?
All his sector times were slow, which either suggests a sighting that or a problem. Well, there is Finn McLaughlin, and the engine cover is off, so whatever the technical issue of yesterday was, one rather fears it's still there, even though he was saying this morning we're all good. One would argue with that. Thomas Behrman has just gone across the timing line and improved to go 11th fastest. Kei Nakamura Berta, in the meantime, in number 51, is trying to get himself up from third. This is the part of the hill that brings you up towards Moorish, which is the sharp right-hander, pretty narrow part of the circuit, that, and then up towards Donna Maria. And again, a point that was being made by journalists yesterday evening was that we know that even the slow corners here have little margin for error, and there is an error down at Lisboa, car off the road, because there is just absolutely no room. That's Gino Trapper that causes a red flag. He's absolutely embedded in the barrier, and so Gino Trapper is the cause of the stoppage. He's gone in quite a long way because it's lifted the rear wheels off the ground, hasn't he? Going back to the earlier point, you know, the tiniest of slides will put you in the barriers because there is just no margin for error, and a lot of these corners are quick. So session
it's a bit
stopped.
Slippy down there as well.
Yeah,
Did you see it was much more sort of darker tarmac than lighter?
Right, well, that's one of your champions of the year, Gino Trapper, the Central European Zone winner. He's in the wall, and the Argentine driver then triggers the stoppage and will lose his best time if that's a qualifying session. It doesn't really matter in this, but he would lose the qualifying time were he to do that in the session later on in the day. Now, the other bad news about all of this is because it's free practice, the clock carries on ticking.
Yeah.
In other words, they're losing time, losing mileage. Wouldn't take long, I don't think, to get Trapper's car off the circuit once they can hoik it out from underneath the tyre stack.
I'm quite worried about Finn McLaughlin, you know.
I am, increasingly so.
This would be such a huge disappointment because, as you rightly say, he was mighty impressive. Not completely dominant in the British Championship this year, but mighty impressive over the course of a whole season. And with that car being inspected and investigated down in pit lane for much longer than you would expect, this doesn't set up day 2 awfully well. And today is a really important day for them because with free practice and with qualifying as well. Although, you know, if they've got a problem, if you can resolve it before we go into qualifying, really good news.
True. And you have got 2 races. You can keep out of trouble. You can make progress in the first. I think I told you a fib when I said that was at Lisboa. It is not. That's near Moorish.
Yes.
So apologies, but it is Gino Trapper. But he has gone straight on, and that possibly is why it's a red flag, because it's harder to get a car out of that area than it would be at Lisboa. So apologies. There's the recovery vehicle that will now need to lift and carry.
When you have the tight shots on a corner, there are quite a few corners that could look very similar around the gear circuit here at Macau. When you get the wide shot, it becomes more iconic, and you know exactly where it is.
It was more the contour of the tyre wall, really, that I was looking at. Anyway, apologies, but it is over at turn 15, so it's in the Moorish section of the circuit. The rest of the cars now coming down the pit lane, and we'll find out very shortly whether we're going to have not only McLaughlin but Munoz on track as well once we get a green flag. But the F4 session being eaten into with this recovery. Right, the car about to be lifted out of the tyres, and there the cars return to drivers in the pit lane. Driver coaches, quite an important aspect to all of this for the young drivers. So hooking up with people that have raced here before in many cases. There is the car of Marcus Chung, who had a one-off outing in the Chinese Championship this season, but has raced 2 years ago in F4 at Macau. There, with damage to the front then, understandably, is Gino Trapper's car. He was 9th in the times, but at least for now, he is going to take no further part in track activity. We'll see him again in qualifying. There is Thomas Behrman, the car being put back into place on the pit apron. Younger brother of Ollie, son of former MG racer David Behrman. 21 is the car of Simon Zhang, who is the Chinese champion. 11 wins out of 16 races. It was a pretty dominant season. 98 there you can see is Seb Weldon, son, well, one of the 2 sons of the late Dan Weldon. Session's going to resume in about 30 seconds time, Alan. Yeah,
that's a really quick turnaround. They are incredibly quick at recovering cars wherever they are around the circuit. They've got all the infrastructure. I was noticing last night as well, around a few of the corners they have security guards that are there all night. There's lots of kit down there on various corners, but 2 of the security guards I noticed at one point around the circuit, they've brought the whole setup for overnight. So little air beds, they were all sorted, they had water, they had food, they were set up for the night and fast asleep when I got back to the hotel last night, so they were in for the night. They do it in shifts, of course. One person sleeps and the other one mans the station for a little while, and then they take it in turns. But yeah, all mod cons this year.
And it is quite an operation to build a circuit. Right, this is looking down at Finn McLaughlin. Engine cover back on, so clearly there was a need to come in. Clearly there was something still not right, but we are now, with the green flag being shown, in a position whereby McLaughlin's car is getting closer to going out onto the circuit. And please, 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 let it be a competitive car this time.
Do hope so. Anxious time for the team as well to find out if this has been resolved. You can you can see the nature of the conversation, can't you?
Yeah, they don't look like happy faces. I think it's still going to be concerned.
Anxious.
Yeah, until something comes out rather more positively. Now, we were told a green flag, but nobody has moved. Now they do.
But they do now. Yeah. So it's about track position now, isn't it? As they all jostle for position, leaving pit lane and about to rejoin the session. They fan out. And the session is back underway. Although we say the session is back underway, the clock has continued to count down, it being free practice. So 23.5 minutes left of this 40-minute session. So now heat cycle all over again, weave the cars. They've got 6 kilometres to do it on this outlap from pit lane. This is one of the great places to do it as well, because it's such a wide part of the circuit. Opens out to about 14 metres wide at its widest point, up towards the start-finish line. It's about that, and then tightens up to 7 metres in width when you get up to the Macau hairpin, where you can't overtake over the whole course of this weekend. But right, let's shall we all keep our fingers crossed for this? We're on board with Finn McLaughlin.
I don't think that's a happy driver. That still does not look quick to me. So Finn McLaughlin is out on track, but I'm still not convinced that they've necessarily nailed this. We'll see, but still didn't look all that rapid. And look, he's being gobbled up there as he comes down to Lisboa. So I think Finn McLaughlin, yeah, that's a slow car. He's still got some drama. Look at the closing speed of the cars behind.
I'm not sure I heard a gear change while we were just on board.
Goes through Lisboa, but this is a sort of, not limp home pace, but it's certainly not flat out.
No.
It's not an attacking lap, is it?
So up into the twisty section now, on the way towards maternity, and keeping well out of the way for everybody else that seems to be flashing past, doing the job, getting the tyres up to temperature and all that kind of thing. There is a yellow flag at turn 15 already after the resumption of this session, but really not good news for Finn McLaughlin. No. I do fear that problem is not resolved.
We're going to have another red flag, I think, because there is that Emily Cotty's car that's gone straight on. It is. So doing things like that on an outlap, you can understand the frustration of race officials, can't you? Because you don't have to be pushing on an outlap. You have to be getting the warmth into the tyres, and another red flag comes.
Yeah.
So that was a complete waste of time for everybody, because now they've got to do another slow lap into the pit lane. Then you've got to go and recover a car. Then you've got to go and do another outlap. And that's potentially another 10 minutes that you've lost, in which you could have been doing proper lappering.
I really want to know what the problem is for Finn McLaughlin. I'm not satisfied with the answer that we've got so far, that it was a mechanical problem.
Well, it's a non-answer, isn't it? I mean, we can tell it's a mechanical problem.
It is.
Yeah, but what? It's almost like it's down on power, but the car's going to come back into the pit lane. This might explain how Emily Cotty got there. I think she just brushed the barrier on the inside, and that spat the car to the left, but that's an outlap. That's not a flying lap to be doing things like that.
No.
It's very disappointing. Right, down the pit lane then they come. And again, we find ourselves in the situation of the more stoppages, the fewer laps, the more desperate people get, the more dramas come the other side, and it then spirals down. So Finn McLaughlin, and also, let's not forget, there he is, Alexandre Munoz, are the two that have not yet done a lap time. Munoz at least did some lappery yesterday before his accident.
Yes.
So he perhaps is less of a concern, but he hasn't yet done a lap time in this session. We've got half of it to go, 20 minutes still, but time is being gobbled away. And that'll be the end of Emily Cotty's session. She was 13th before the accident, the British driver.
We've only essentially had 2 flying laps, haven't we, in this session? And now with this stoppage, once again, they can probably recover the car fairly quickly, make sure the barrier is okay.
This is Finn McLaughlin's view after the red flag. So he's heading into the incident zone. There's Emily Cotty's car parked in the barriers, and Finn McLaughlin has a good look left to see what the damage might be, and then slowly makes his way up Moorish Hill. So red flag number 2. We're keeping tally of this for the day.
I am.
Yeah.
I've just started. What were we yesterday? 15 in
yesterday.
total.
Yeah.
Day 1, 15. Day 2's not going awfully well so far, is it? 2 already.
No. So down the pit lane comes Finn McLaughlin. Make the point, we did do it yesterday, but don't forget that pretty much everybody in this is too young to drive on the road. So you give them perhaps the most challenging of street circuits, and cold tyres, damp track, perhaps incidents are inevitable. But Finn McLaughlin's car then back into the pit lane. And again, it will be interesting to see now what work is going to be done on that, because even before the stoppage, he was going slowly. That is Simon Zhang, the Chinese champion, down to his area in the pit lane. And at the moment, Jules Roussel the fastest by just under 0.4 of a second from number 26, Ryan Caretti, who was 4th in the French championship this year, was a race winner. Then you've got Itsuki Sato. There are 2 Satos, unrelated. Itsuki drives number 17, Rintaro drives number 30, Rintaro Sato being the son of Takuma Sato, a winner of the Macau Grand Prix, of course. There he is, that's Rintaro Sato, and Dad, I think, standing by. Rintaro Sato is the quicker of the 2 at the minute, 7th in the order. And if you want a good driver coach, well, as a Macau Grand Prix winner and a double Indy 500 winner, your dad's not a bad one, is he?
You're right. Probably one of the best that you could ask for, really. And it is so nice to see second and sometimes third generations all going through the same process, albeit in a different era, but going through the same process of iconic races to be involved with. And those memories so fresh in the mind, you would imagine.
Sebastian Weldon, who currently is 5th in the times. So it is Jules Roussel, Ryan Caretti, Keen Nakamura Berta, Emanuele Oliveri, Seb Weldon and Thiago Rodriguez, the top 6.
We can't see over there, can we? It's just over on the far side of the picture is where the team are working on Finn McLaughlin's car. And as we are in this period of interruption, one of the things they do need to do, and they have to get used to doing this over the course of 4 days here at Macau, is really keeping your concentration in these periods of interruption, because at any point you could be on a short call. You can see there are still the little puddles in pit lane, can't you?
Yeah.
Not on circuit, which is good news, but it does show just how much water we had overnight.
Keen Nakamura Berta has only just got in because he'd gone through, didn't come in instantly on the red flag. But the session's going to restart in about 5 seconds' time. So as he arrives, just time to catch his breath and go back out again. Green flag, we're back in business with 15.5 minutes on the clock now.
Wonder if he was able to weave the car around and keep a bit of heat in the tyres on that slowdown. That might be a little bit of an advantage over the others, because they've been down here for a few minutes in pit lane before we get things back underway. So you can see that standing water down in pit lane as we get ready to release the cars out on circuit. 15 minutes now remain for this session. It is a free practice session, and as far as the morning is concerned, we've got free practice now for Macau Formula 4. We've got free practice for FIA FR World Cup, and then from then on it's all about qualifying today and through until the final session of the day.
Now we have been told there's a green flag, and yet there's nobody leaving because there's the red light on still in the pit lane. So plot thickens a little bit here, but it's got a green flag on our timing screen from about a minute ago. And now, correction, session will resume at 9:41, so that's in 15 seconds time.
So believe the light.
Yeah,
do what the light says. And they all have done exactly that, all the teams making sure that the cars wait, despite what they hear about the session being resumed. We are going to see it go green and get the session back underway. There it is, down in pit lane, and they don't hang about either, because they've only got 14 minutes on the circuit now. Take off 3 minutes for an outlap from pit lane, and they have precious little opportunity to get quick, meaningful laps in, and that's notwithstanding the fact we might get another interruption as well. But what the story of two cars, Munoz and McLaughlin, down in pit lane, what is going to be the story of those two cars?
I would suggest that everybody that's just come out of the pit lane is in far more attacking mode than they were earlier, which is perhaps slightly concerning. Keen Nakamura Berta then, first out, always trying to be first out, does help. We saw it last year across the Formula Regional part of the weekend for Ugo Ugochukwu, first out, and was always first onto a lap, first to set a time, and then all the dramas behind kind of protected him. So on an ever-drying circuit, cars climbing uphill, and at the moment, with 13 minutes still to go, Jules Roussel is the fastest. Everybody bar Simon Zhang has gone back out. So in other words, Munoz and McLaughlin are now on the circuit. And they need to do a lap time, clearly, having hitherto not got anything in. Nakamura Berta there, Emanuele Olivieri behind him, and number 16 dropping down the hill is Kyoho Lee, driver who comes from South Korea and was a pretty rapid Spanish F4 driver over the course of the season.
Munoz and McLaughlin have both left pit lane, which is good news. So 12 minutes just over of this session remaining for free practice. So should we do the same thing again? Fingers crossed the cars are resolved and okay to do the remainder of this session, and maybe, hopefully, get some meaningful laps in. Otherwise, qualifying is going to turn into the first laps around the circuit, certainly for Finn McLaughlin.
And qualifying is going to be
not far off,
40 minutes long. So in theory, you've got the opportunity for quite a bit of mileage, but as we've seen, incidents can happen.
In reality, yeah, that could be a much shorter than 40 minutes.
Well, yes and no, because even if there are stoppages, you'll still get 40 minutes, come hook or by crook.
Only because you've got the slow-down lap and then the warm-up lap again.
You won't get as many flying laps in, but you would get the full 40 minutes unless there's a stoppage within the last 2 minutes and there's not worth the effort to restart and not worth the time to restart. But yeah, in theory, you would get the 40 minutes in, even if you don't get a full quota of flying laps. However, let's be positive, as you say, 11 minutes are on the clock, and now Keen Nakamura Berta goes on to a proper flying lap. He's third in the times, there he is. So the British driver, who has a Japanese mum, a Slovak father, born in London, moved to Japan, back to the UK, and the Italian F4 champion comes down towards Lisboa. There are still some damp patches on that section of the circuit as well, and Nakamura Berta there goes from the inside to the outside to get the line for Lisboa. The road narrows a little bit before you get to the corner itself. And he's in clear airspace, isn't he? He's got nobody ahead to get in the way, although admittedly not to give him a tow. And Rintaro Sato, possibly with a tow, has just done an absolute best within Sector 1.
Currently in 7th position for Sato, but purple sector in Sector 1. Up into Sector 2 now for Renato Sato, and Nakamura Berta just with a purple sector in Sector 2. That sector just completed. 10 minutes left on the clock, just over. That's the 51 car of Nakamura Berta, currently in 3rd position in this free practice session. And if weather forecasts are to be believed, this will be the last time they have to deal with a damp circuit over the course of this weekend.
Can I offer you some bad news?
Go on.
In every sector so far on his first flying lap, Finn McLaughlin is over 10 seconds off the pace. So you could give me an argument to say it's a gentle sighting lap, but I'm not convinced that's really the answer. I think he's still got a problem, and he's back in the pit lane. He's back in the pit lane. So Finn McLaughlin's travails continue. We'll come to him in a moment as you look at the Melco hairpin down to first gear, a nudge over 35 kilometres an hour as Keen Nakamura Berta turns through. and he's still doing good sectors. He's just done an absolute best in the fourth. Interestingly, though, people behind him are going quicker in the sectors. All those earlier absolute bests that Alan Hyde referred to have now been taken away by a Rintaro Sato or Ryan Coretti or Sebastian Weldon in sectors 1, 2 and 3 respectively. He's now lost his best in sector 4 as well. That's just been snaffled by Emanuele Olivieri. So this, I reckon, will put him top, but I'm not sure he's going to stay there. Over the timing line comes Keen Nakamura, but he does go top. He does a 2:26.240. Olivieri goes second, and we'll see if anybody else then can knock him off the top spot. Not yet.
So waiting for the time to come in for Roussel, goes top, 2:26.121. So you're quite right, as the times came in, a big shuffle around in the top 6. So Jules Roussel in the number 7 car, 2:26.121. Nakamura Berta in second place, car number 51, and Emanuele Oliveira in third place. And Sebastian Weldon as well, with that one sector, which was a purple sector, goes third. So across the line, 2:26.443.
And Thomas Behrman fifth. And almost every car now coming over the line shuffles the order. Just had going past Thiago Rodriguez up to fourth fastest. Thiago Rodriguez from Macau. And now another change has just been offered up. Ryan Coretti over the timing line, so he's gone third on a 2:26.3. So how many does that give us within a second? The top 6 all covered by 1 second. Alexandra Munoz, by the way, with the damage repaired from yesterday, is 12th, and Finn McLaughlin is still in the pit lane.
So disappointing, isn't it? So disappointing for the British champion this year. 5 wins in the National Championship in the UK. And so far, no luck in free practice 1, no luck in free practice 2. We can only hope that whatever this problem is resolved by qualifying. But in fairness, they've had a long time since yesterday. They finished their session at about 11 o'clock yesterday morning. And right the way through the afternoon, right the way through the evening, first thing this morning, and still there's a problem. That must be so frustrating for the team.
Well, yeah, especially as they were saying before the session started, yes, we're all good to go. They obviously thought they'd got to the bottom of it. So the cars all run by the Min Times operation, but there's one that's clearly got a drama. So we've got, as you can see on the clock, just over 6.5 minutes of the session to go. Jules Roussel then is the fastest. On this lap, he's not doing standout sector times. There you've got Sebastian Weldon, who has done an absolute best in sector 1. Ryan Coretti is getting better all the time. He's done 2 absolute best on this lap. And Emanuele Olivieri has done 1. But Keen Nakamura Berta goes back to the top. Olivieri goes second, 0.124 of a second behind. And if anybody's going to change the order, I think it's going to be Ryan Coretti on this lap, number 26. So you're looking down on the Malco hairpin, and Ryan Coretti coming through sector 4, drops down the hill through Black Sands, and Ryan Coretti, number 26, there he is, comes down towards the completion of the lap. We've had another improvement. R.I. Bansal, the Indian driver, has just gone 5th, the GB4 champion, as there, coming through Fisherman's Bend, is Coretti. So he's 4th in the times. He's done 2 absolute bests, a personal best on this lap, and a slightly slower sector 1. 1 corner to go. Coretti then flings the car through our bend up towards the timing line, and Coretti 4th now, breaks the beam, and he will go fastest of all, and he's into the 225s. A 225.717, 99 thousandths quicker than Keen Nakamura Berta.
New name at the top of the times in free practice 2 for the FIA FR Formula 4 World Cup, and it is the number 26 car with a 225.717. Right, what else are we looking for? It would be nice if they could run all the way to the flag in this without any more interruptions, because we've got 5 minutes more of FP2. They go into qualifying this afternoon in just a few hours' time, local time, 1:30 this afternoon for the qualifying section, and that's 40 minutes as well for qualifying. And as we have this shuffle of the order in free practice 2 towards the end of this session, it feels a little bit more competitive now, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It feels as if we've gone into another gear, and we're getting some kind of a view into what we can expect in qualifying this afternoon.
And a bit like we were saying yesterday, Alan, in the context of the Grand Prix first qualifying session, there's no one driver that's absolutely dominating, because we're talking about sectors and lap times at the top being shared out and shuffled across a given number of drivers. This is one of the stars of the day so far. Yes, Keen Nakamura Berta, and he ought to go quicker still on this lap to go back to the top of the times as he comes now through our bend, or they missed the apex there, comes up to the line. Nakamura Berta then goes by. That was a slower lap by about half a second, as Emanuele Olivieri now goes to the top of the times. 2:25.519. Here up to the line comes Jules Roussel. So it's Olivieri now, the fastest, but Roussel is going to try to fight back, and he goes fastest. 2:25.132.
You said they're shuffling around at the top of the order. This is very exciting. It's just like it counts towards a grid. It doesn't, but that comes this afternoon when we get qualifying underway. But yeah, Roussel, top of the times, 2:25.132. 3.5 minutes of this session remain, and we've got a purple sector again in the second sector for Sebastian Weldon. Absolutely nails that sector, doesn't he?
He does, and there he goes over the timing line. So Weldon does a lap time that doesn't improve, stays sixth. So we've just had another change. Oh, that was Rodriguez, Thiago Rodriguez going up to fifth. So it's Roussel, Olivieri, Caretti, Nakamura Berta, then Rodriguez, Bansal, Weldon, Sato I, Behrman and Sato R, with Munoz 11th after his damage of yesterday, and a Finn McLaughlin update. He's still in the pits.
So disappointing, isn't it? Yeah, so poor old Finn McLaughlin. Well, hopefully he's done a lot of laps on a simulator heading into this weekend. Still working on the car down in pit lane, and still those pensive looks on the face of the engineers, the mechanics, the team members that are responsible for the car down in pit lane. Not good news.
Yeah, I was trying to work out, as you were saying, pensive, whether they were actually baffled, because clearly what they thought they'd sorted out yesterday, they haven't, and the options now are getting fewer as to what they can do. Anyway, if he gets out in the next 2 minutes and 15 seconds, he'll be lucky. So he's going to go into qualifying without having done a proper flying lap in the two sessions that have been offered.
Not the preparation you need on any circuit,
no.
Least of all on the gear circuit at Macau, one of the most challenging circuits a young driver, a young single-seated driver, could possibly be faced with.
This is Emanuele Olivieri, who is second in the times now, but this has been a good lap because he was personal best time offered up in sectors 1 and 3, and absolute best in sector 4. He's coming down towards our bend. He's going to get one more lap out of the session as he comes into the very fast final right. Drifts it wide up towards the barrier. He's heading towards the timing line. Does Olivieri go back to the top of the times? The answer is no, he does not. He's quicker, but not quick enough. So Jules Roussel is still fastest, and this is the last chance saloon now for Emanuele Olivieri to go top. Now, Alan has spotted a really good lap coming up for Seb Weldon.
Certainly is. He's currently in 7th place, but he historically has done really well in sector 2. He's now overall best in sectors 2, 3 and 4, only waiting for this final sector to be completed for Sebastian Weldon, and the number 98 car turns around the final turn. Let's see what this time is going to be for Sebastian Weldon. 3 out of 4 so far, purple sectors. Goes top, 2:24.323. Good lap that, wow.
8 tenths quicker than anybody else, and he's been building up to that, hasn't he? He's been teasing us for the last 2 or 3 passings of the timing line, but Seb Weldon there, Sebastian Weldon, 2:24.323, 8 tenths of a second quicker than Jules Roussel. That's quite a margin as you've got the two cars there, look, running together with a tow trying to be offered up. 13th, Simon Zhang, trying to haul himself up the grid, the Chinese champion, as there down through Lisboa goes Alexandre Munoz, and he is now 10th, so Munoz has been able to recover pretty well, I reckon, after the damage of yesterday. Thomas Behrman has just been noted for speeding in the pit lane. And Finn McLaughlin is still in the pits, and we've got 10 seconds to go. So that has been another wasted 40 minutes for him.
What a shame. He can only dream of speeding in the pit lane, because it has been far from that in this session. Checkered flag goes out, and Sebastian Weldon is top of the time. Still on circuit. Car 87, yeah, for speeding in the pit lane, investigated after the session. Notification comes up for us. But quite a thrilling free practice session, that, because there was a lot going on. There was a lot of shuffling of the order, and if we were pondering who might be best on top this afternoon in qualifying, Well, now we've got no idea, because we had so many drivers on the top of the times in free practice 2 on a drying circuit. There's still quite damp patches. It's the Macau circuit is a pretty humid area, and therefore takes a little while to dry the circuit out. So there are quite tricky patches around the track.
Now, Nakamura Berta here is coming up to the checkered flag, and he's been doing improvements in the sectors, and he goes second fastest at the end. He narrows the margin to 7/10 against Sebastian Weldon, so it was worth pushing on. So the checkered flag now goes out, and the last few cars to come through and to see whether there's going to be a change in the order. There is Thomas Behrmann, who goes by, and he will be 8th come the end of the session. And oh dear, yet more drama, and that's not going to affect things hugely because the checkered flag had already been shown, but in the barriers...
Yuzi Wang.
Yeah, and that is again over at Moorish by the look of it. This is the China and Middle East F4 regular.
Who crashed yesterday in FP1 at San Francisco.
That's right,
so,
yes.
So 2 problems in the 2 free practice sessions for the number 15 car. So it's a little bit disappointing way to finish the session, isn't it?
It is indeed, and that means that he's going to go into qualifying with a car that will have to have been repaired and he won't know a great deal about. I'm just slightly hesitating in my brain as to Finn McLaughlin's situation here. He has not done a single flying lap, and I just wonder whether the stewards may have an attitude on that before qualifying. I don't think there's a reason to prevent him from taking part.
Or a regulation to...
Yeah. But you know, it is possible that you know have dramas in free practice and it all comes good in qualifying. But when you're talking about young drivers of this age, I just wonder if the stewards might have a view. I hope not. I don't think they would do.
Hope not.
Yeah.
It would be great to see the car resolved and a hero session from Finn McLaughlin.
Yeah, I think that is still possible.
Yeah.
I genuinely do.
Yeah.
I think if the car is, or the engine, or whatever it is that they can't get right yet, if that is resolved, we know he has got the pace. And all the circuits that he's been racing on in the UK this year have been new to him. So he's had to adapt to a new track pretty much all the time. And that includes, for example, the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. It includes Zandvoort when they had their away race there. So, all right, it's a different sort of a circuit, but it's still new. This is what happened to Wang Yuzhe. Too much speed carried in, tried to make the corner, slides into the wall, takes the wing off, breaks the front suspension, and doesn't quite block the circuit. But again, were that in the race, it would be a safety car situation to get him out of the way. So yeah, there's either going to be... it's 2 extremes coming up for Finn McLaughlin. There's no halfway house, there's no middle ground. It's either going to be another awful session come qualifying or a triumphant appearance up near the top of the times.
I like to stay optimistic, so I'll go for the latter.
Yeah, and I think, like I say, the ability is there to do that.
Yeah.
It's just, at the moment, the car's ability that one fears for. Anyway, Seb Weldon is fastest at the end of the session by 7/10 of a second from Keen Nakamura Berta. Emanuele Olivieri 3rd, Jules Roussel 4th, and Rayan Caretti 5th, all of whom at one point were at the top of the time. 6th, Thiago Rodriguez ahead of Rintaro Sato and Thomas Behrmann. Simon Zhang 9th, Arai Banzel in 10th ahead of Itsuki Sato, and then down to 12th in the end in his repaired car, Alexandre Munoz, the French champion. Hyuho Lee 13th from Kimi Chan, then Marcus Chung, the then damaged car of Wang Yuzhe next from Gino Trapper, who crashed, Emily Cotti, who crashed, and Finn McLaughlin, who never got a proper flying lap in.